It's Lock and Load, and that's some kind of 1911. I don't know what kind because it's
It,
Night Strike.
it's an ATI.
It's a Star Wars edition, Lock and Load. Star Wars Assault Band, Canadian screw up, whatever, election, ammo, and gun panic. And we have two Second Amendment court cases to talk about. One is an assault weapons ban and high capacity mag limit before the Supreme Court. It's on it's 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 on its third now. It's on its third certiorari appeal. And October 30th, the day before Halloween, is when we'll find out. If they're going to hear it again, because basically today the Supreme Court did nothing except put it off for 2 more weeks. So, and that is the Friedman case. Friedman and the NRA, or I'll get up all the stats, and then in New York, there's another case that before the Second Circuit Court, not the Supreme Court, but the Second Circuit Court, that got basically they upheld the assault weapons ban, but that seven ammo round mag limit is gone. It did not withstand intermediate scrutiny. So you can take your 10-round mags if you have one and load them all the way up, motherfuckers. So that's that. And but more importantly, Night Strike, what did you think about the Star Wars the commercial for The Force Awakens during the NFL halftime show?
Well, being a big Star Wars fan myself, I don't collect the paraphernalia, but I have all the movies on. I've got them on Betamax, VHS, DVD.
Betamax? You have Betamax?
I have I have the Betamax copies of the original ones. Yes.
I have some Star Wars memorabilia I would really like to sell, but I have to dig it up.
Right.
I have
Well,
a Revenge of the Jedi paperweight before it was
as I was
Return
saying,
of the Jedi.
I'm a big Star Wars fan. I'm not too sure about the updated costumes, or as you say, the uniforms. So much, I'm not a big fan of that. But I did like that they did bring it looked like they had an updated TIE fighter. That looked pretty darn cool. And it also looked, and they also brought back the iconic X-wings as well. That was pretty cool too, because X-wings. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know why Cork is here. He should be like glued to that. He should be like have that thing TiVoed and be replaying it over and over. He's such a Star Wars nerd. But
I'm
anyway,
probably bigger than him, but we won't go there.
yeah.
I have a preference.
Unfortunately, they sold it. The Lucasfilm sold everything to Disney now, so they have all the rights, and all the people I knew at Fox. We can't get free tickets anymore, so I'm gonna actually have to pay if I want to see it for the first time in my life.
I don't think I'm going to see it right away. I may wait until the initial reviews come out
Well,
beforehand.
is it going to be in 3D?
I've heard they're going to have it. It'll be in 3D at the IMAX theaters, I think.
That'll be
But
worth it. That'll
be worth it seeing it. But even before I see it, I still want to hear like at least one or two biased reviews beforehand, because I don't want to go and see it and have it turn out to be like Avatar, where everyone says it was great, but then you go and watch it and it's complete crap.
Just Hey Tyler, do you care about Star Wars, or should we talk about the Canadian ammo ban? And you got your guy lost the election.
I'm quite a Star Wars fan. So much to the point that I'm ready to go out and buy a broom handle Mauser and make a new DL-44.
Oh, the DL-44. But just remember, kids, Han shot first.
Well, we don't have a big enough on the Big Island. I'm gonna have to rely on some gun jealous people if I want anything Star Wars shit. I'm gonna sell my Star Wars Revenge of the Jedi paperweight and my poster from the original. And
I would say, do not take a real Mauser C96 and do it. Take a prop and do that because the prop does not work in the first place. Because never, ever take a piece of history like a C-96 and butcher it just to make a Star Wars gun.
When we actually get plasma rifles, I mean, will the Second Amendment still apply? I mean, that's
It
that's
will
You're
always
goddamn right.
what?
You're goddamn right it will.
Okay.
Okay,
That's the
Mr.
spirit.
Ford.
Well,
That's a
what
Harrison
did he say?
Ford quote.
What was his line? He say it's all true. I mean, what the fuck was he talking about?
They were probably having a really deep conversation, and they just chose to pull that one just right out of it.
It's all true.
The stories, they're all true.
It's all true. Princess Leia was in a gangbang with a three-way gangbang with a Wookiee. That was what's true. Anyway, but that was several Wookiees.
Jesus.
Okay, I know we're going to talk about the Second Amendment case eventually because it's really important.
I think it was called
how
Snow
many
White and the Seven Wookiees.
So are we gonna set this to 18+, or what's the deal here?
We might have to.
No, but I wanted to do is get like one of like the cheap off-brand C96s, like not the actual historical ones, and see if there's any way that you could recreate the DL-44 and still have it functional.
Good luck there. All right, I guess we should probably move on from Star Wars, even though I could go on for ages.
No, I'm sure it'll be I mean, they don't have an assault weapon ban in Star Wars, but there hasn't been an assault weapons ban.
Actually, that's not true.
What?
In Star Wars, you weren't allowed. Under the Galactic Empire, you weren't allowed to have modified, rifles. Like you couldn't tweak your rifle to be a bit more powerful or anything like that. Otherwise, you would get arrested for contraband by the Galactic Empire. So they did have things where you couldn't own certain things in a certain way.
Okay, now I don't know anything
unsafe.
about plasma rifles, but what do they check the frequency of your plasma rifle or what?
Yeah, and if it doesn't meet factory, they do a scan, and if it didn't meet factory specifications, they would arrest you.
What book was that?
If you ever played Star Wars Galaxies.
I have not said.
No.
Yeah.
I used to do craft, and that was it. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, shit. Before we get on to the Second Amendment case before the Supreme Court, and the New York you can all load up your 10-round mags with. I mean, who the hell counted magazines to 7? I mean, the point I was making earlier to someone, and the assault weapon ban, any weapon ban in New York is pointless because if you were an evil person and you lived in New York and you wanted to kill somebody, all you have to do is run a red light and you would kill a lot of people. So, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. So we're moving on to
New York's never made any sense. Let's not lie.
Yeah, but obviously if the Supreme Court picks up the Friedman case from Chicago or Illinois, then it will be whatever it rules, it'll be historic because it will be more guidance on the Second Amendment than Heller was.
It's just gonna be a shitstorm. That's all it's gonna be.
Well, but I don't think.
Just to clarify, Heller was the one where the Supreme Court said that Second Amendment applies to individuals, right?
Yeah. Well, you didn't read the Heller case. Heller and McDonald cases. Basically, based on the 14th Amendment, I'm gonna have to. Boy, it's been a while since I read Heller. But basically, it said, the Second Amendment applies to individuals, and I'm gonna have to go back to that one and reread it because I read it and it's like 220 pages or something. But
I haven't read it. I'll be honest.
You haven't read the Heller McDonald? It's 220 pages. I did read it.
That's why. That's why.
But the 14th. It basically had to do with the 14th Amendment when it was basically passed during the Civil War, and it said that the 14th Amendment was basically because in the southern states they were saying black people couldn't own guns after the Civil War because then they would take away their guns and then they would hang them. So because they were pissed about the Civil War, so they passed the 14th Amendment, which says you cannot, which is the Equal Protection Clause now. you can't, take guns away from people based on race or do anything, deny anyone their rights based on race. So, and basically, there's a man in Chicago, and basically he was reporting drug gangs to the police, and the gangs threatened to kill him for doing that over and over, and so he wanted to get a gun to protect himself, and then Chicago said, no, you can't have a gun, we'll take your report. And so
he won, I assume.
well, he won in the Supreme Court, yeah, Heller and McDonald cases, and since then the gentleman has passed away, but so that's what the 14th Amendment was, and that's basically what the case revolved around. But this case in the Supreme Court was Friedman, and it's not in the court yet. It's only up for certiorari, which basically means it's been appealed from Illinois or Chicago Supreme Court to the Supreme Court. An assault weapons ban and a high-capacity magazine ban, and obviously, if they pick that, but the question is, will they pick that up? Because probably, the conservatives and the liberals probably won't, for the same reason the same exact reason, because they don't know for sure if they can win. If they'll get the swing votes to win. So this may wait till after Hillary testifies before the Benghazi Commission, and Joe Biden decides if he wants to jump in, and then we'll know, or maybe it'll wait till after the election, And
are they finally having the Benghazi Commission?
Yes, like Thursday she testifies on this.
Jeez, that was like.
That's why Joe Biden, is Joe Biden running? Is Joe Biden running? If Joe Biden gets on a treadmill, there'll be a newsflash because he's running.
I really hope that whole Benghazi thing takes her out of the running. I'm crossing my fingers.
Well, I think
what I've heard, it should.
Well, if there's an FBI indictment, it will. But then there'll be a picture, or there'll be a perp walk or a fake perp walk. Hey man.
Because she said lately, some disparaging things about the Second Amendment, and if she gets elected, I'm not sure she won't try and repeal the Second Amendment altogether.
Well, you want a civil war? Because that's how you get a civil war.
Well, there's 300 million guns in America and 80 million gun owners at least, so, good luck.
And that's funny, a Canadian telling us about civil wars. Weren't you gonna start digging holes when the police come and get you to either bury your guns or the police up there in Canada?
Well, officer, do you see that broken window? A guy broke in last week and stole all of them. I don't know where they went.
In Hawaii, we used the boat. It fell off the boat.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, let me get to another screen share here real quick of something semi-important.
Please do.
Yeah, let me find it first. Right. So, before we do the Second Amendment thing, we have a kind of a Star Wars thing. If you're going to have it's like a. Where? No, it's not really Star Wars, but it's high tech.
Ooh.
Come on.
Someone 3D printed a railgun.
What?
I don't know if it works or not, but I saw it in the news.
Okay, can you guys see this optic here?
Yes.
All right, so that's the Colonel Mikey Hartman. It's a new Israeli red dot that I suppose Command Arms is going to have by the end of the year, or at least by SHOT Show.
And you want one for your Tavor?
Well, it looks very similar. Yes, but
we got to get the Tavor mentioned at least once.
Well, yeah, I posted the actual sketches of the Tavor in a video and kind of like did with some horror punk music, and the original sketches of the design of the Tavor. I mean, it just started out like some drawings,
Some of the sketches looked like it where they were drawing an XMA at one point.
To Google
Well,
that.
those little sketches, it was on the Star Defense blog until Star Defense went out of business, you know. So, and all the Star Defense blogs are down, you know, which is the topic of another one of my videos. By most, anyway, you know. So, but anyway, if anybody's actually interested in this MSC stuff, so this one has a remote infrared remote control for this optic. I don't know if it has all the multiple reticles. It just has its favorite reticle with the dot and the two lines on each side but anyway, I'll go over. Let me get to the. There's yeah. Well, just look at here's the fun stuff. There it is. It looks like an MSC, you know, and you don't need to have a cable for the remote this time because my cable was not long enough for the Tavor, you know. Which anyway, I don't know why they made such a short cable. It's only good for an SBR or a Roni, which I don't have on the original MSC, which obviously no longer exists. But you know, except you know, occasionally if you run across one. But this looks like the new one, and obviously with EOTech, the whole their optic never was parallax free. SOCOM Special Operations Command issued a report basically saying this optic has zero drift. It never was parallax free, and basically, you know, now that the military has a bunch of them, I guess I don't know if the government's gonna somebody call up a whistleblower people and whoever does that. I know they have that for drugs. I don't know if they have that for military acquisition.
Yeah, but if someone does whistleblow again, they'll have to go to Russia because, you know, that's what happens when you whistleblow on the government. Our government doesn't do the right thing, and, you know, they want to try him for treason.
I could have used some X-35 pictures, by the way. There was some X-35 take-up, but I'm so pissed at this Sunday's Air Force colonel who he sounded exactly like me before I read the joint joint concurrency report on the F-35. Basically, the airframe cracks at 20% of its lifetime because it was not designed to be put together the way it was correctly, and you know, it's not ready for training. It's not ready for combat. You can't seat behind it because the cockpit design. You can't turn around. You can't even turn your head with an active helmet, and also all the entire electrical system can just go out because it interferes with itself. So if you don't mind flying in a plane where you can't see who's behind you, doesn't go fast enough, can't turn fast enough, can only stay in the air for a little while because the weight is, you can't even put a extra fuel tank on it, and you lose your stealth, and not only can the airframe crack, I mean, the whole the entire electrical, all the systems interfere with each other, and so they all it's got thermal and electrical grounding problems. I mean, the Air Force guy came on, you know, so just like I was. Well, they'll just keep throwing money at it, and eventually it'll work. Well, by the time they get it working right, it will be obsolete. So,
can I say something about this too?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see the need to use the F-35 because we already have a fighter jet that could possibly bomb as well, exactly like that. The United States Marine Corps has been using it since like the 70s. It's called the Harrier.
Well, it doesn't. It has obviously.
Just upgrade the Harrier, upgrade the A-10 Warthog. Do not decommission the Warthog, and we're good. Problem solved.
Well, it's not an air superiority fire, but the problem is that the F-35 has not beaten an F-16 yet in any simulation of any kind. So. You know, it has only had one victory in a simulation, and that's in exactly a scenario, exactly prescribed, that was set up according to the book, that can only happen in one way. You know, and you know, an F-35 is sitting there waiting for a target to come along in stealth mode. You know, and it fires a missile, and then you know that's it. But it's just got so many problems. Anyway, so I'm screen sharing this optic. And basically, it looks like a MSC AQC, except it's got doesn't have as many. It has 3 buttons, but it doesn't have multiple reticles. It's got a remote optic, infrared, and it's got a 30. It's got, instead of just a motion activation, it's got a uh, um, dual motion set. Basically, you have to make a combat 30% degree move, to turn it on. It just won't turn on if it just moves slightly or something. You have to make like a combat move. And it can kind of differentiate. So it's for anyway, and then he goes into the large field of view, and he has a USB port, so you can charge it via USB. The only question I would have is do they have codes for the different infrared things so they don't people in the same squad's infrared
What kind of USB is it? Micro?
Well, here I'll go over the technical. Let me go into the technical page.
Yeah, we love technicals.
Pictures, technical parameters.
While you're looking for that, I have a bit of an emergency report.
Okay.
Screen share.
Canada? Oh, you have liberal people winning or something?
By a long shot.
You poor sons of bitches.
Yeah, it was nice knowing you.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to dig holes to bury your guns or the officers that come to seize them. And I don't know. Poor Canada. Didn't Bob vote? Bob probably didn't vote. It's his fault. So.
Well, I'm just praying they don't get a majority, because if they get a minority, they won't be able to do shit.
That's never stopped them before.
It'll
That's
make me
why you
feel
guys
better.
have, what, 5-round limitations
10.
on rifles? It's rifles. I thought it was
Oh,
5.
yeah, 5 for rifles, 10 for handguns. Unlimited for rimfire.
Oh, unlimited rimfire. That's cool. Anyway, so let's see. There's the USB port in the front, kind of that thing with the USB port symbol on it there.
It may just be a regular USB port instead of a micro.
Yeah, it probably is a regular MSB port. You could charge it, and it really is parallax free. They do a lot of work that it's actually parallax free. It's not that just some people say, oh, it's parallax free, and then you find out later when Strategic Operation Command issues after so level 3 communications on the EOTech said they're assuming a $26 million charge to users of their system. So they sold the military, so they said, oh, it's parallax free, and it's not. So you have to do a few things to make it parallax free, and they didn't do it. So and again, zero drift in different temperatures on the EOTech. But anyway, so here's the technical parameters, main advantages, blah blah blah. Come on. This shit takes forever. Anyway, so yeah, I want one, but I already have an MSE, and it's basically the same thing. True parallax free. So here's what they actually describing and what they do. I don't know how many reticles they have, but yeah, it's obviously it's non-reflective coating. See, the optic designed along with their delicate mechanical collimating system, whatever the freak that is, allows our assembly team to accurately adjust the distance between the LED and aspheric lens to produce a zero parallax, resulting in increased accuracy. The reticle always stays on target, independent of the shooter's eye location in the window. And of course, this is the part I like. If you actually see combat in Afghanistan, most of it's at long range, and it seems like not so much a CQB, but this reticle definitely can't be seen from the target's point of view, including the red dot, and stuff doesn't illuminate your face, But anyway.
Yeah, not unless they have a laser.
Yeah, well, I did get a laser from my. All the people at gun channels kept saying, "Get a laser, get a laser." So I got a Crimson Trace laser from my Ruger LC9X S Pro, and it's pretty cool. I do need to get a different. I really like. I have a few different holsters for it, but I need a new holster to fit the laser.
Yeah, I've been thinking about getting one of those guide rod lasers from my 1911.
Well, this is like the little compact I carry all the time. So, in my house, so we don't have carry yet. We're waiting for Trump to get elected and pass nationwide reciprocity, according to SNP. So let's get on to the Second Amendment cases. I'm going to stop screen sharing this.
Join the club. We don't have it here in South Carolina either, so.
Yeah, so we're. North Carolina has it though, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah, but North Carolina, you have to have a permit in order to buy a pistol.
Really?
Yeah, South Carolina, you can buy whatever the hell you want as long as you got the money. You just can't carry it without a permit, and you can only carry it concealed.
Yeah, well, nobody's ever issued a permit in the state of Hawaii, so we're waiting for Trump. God, here's the thing about Donald Trump. Everybody, they haven't that the press hasn't figured out. They hate establishment politicians. Yeah, they don't like the Republicans. They don't like the Democrats. They don't like the establishment. You know what they hate worse? The press. So when the press said, "Oh, look at this stupid, crazy thing that Donald Trump said yesterday. It's dumb. He's done." They hate the press more than they hate anybody. So whenever he says something dumb, then the press say, "Look, he said something dumb," and Trump's poll numbers go up because the press is bashing him. So the more dumb things he says, the higher his numbers go. So
what I'd like to know is, why am I seeing Bush commercials right now instead of Trump commercials?
Trump doesn't need any commercials because he's kicking everybody's ass.
Have you noticed that Bush is pumping out commercials? You see his commercials on TV at least, once every hour.
I haven't seen his commercials. I saw some Rubio commercials.
The commercials for the Canadian election, it was like there were no commercials. It was just liberal election campaign. Every commercial, never failing. I wanted to blow my brains out for the past month.
One, you're Canadian, and you can't even vote yet anyway, can you?
That's what it makes it worse.
Yes. Well, you're only 17, so you're not. Well.
The liberal candidate in my area is an absolute idiot. He came up to me and he said, "So you must be what, 2022 now? You must be getting ready to vote." It's like, no, sir, I'm 16. Why are you talking to me? And he addresses me as Mr. Sutherland. Like, this feels so weird.
Maybe he was trying to talk to your dad instead.
Could be.
He's a politician. Maybe he's trying to pick you up.
You're right.
No, he's a politician, not a Catholic priest.
Oh, well, this brings us to our Yankee Marshal moment. So why I was listening to, I don't know, was it Stone Guy or Matt's chat one time, and Yankee Marshal was broadcasting from a cell phone in a skating rink. Why is Yankee Marshal in a skating rink with a lot of children?
I think he had mentioned that he was taking his family out for a gathering, and they went to the skating rink.
Oh, well, I have another theory.
So he's not grooming children.
No, he has his own children.
I thought they're adopted. They're not his. But anyway,
he claims them on his taxes. I think they're his by now.
He's scouting for new recruits.
Well, if he's been paying, my personal opinion is that the bathroom at the skating rink has a glory hole. Now, I don't know which end, if not both, that Yankee was on, but moving on to the Second Amendment now that we've had our Yankee Marshal moment, I'm going to link the... What? You want to talk about that more?
Yes, just 1 second. By the way, the Truth About Guns last week went and totally blasted him for one of his videos, if you'd like to go and look that up. Okay,
no, I don't really...
Yeah, I saw his response to that today.
I heard his response last night. It was hilarious.
Okay, well, I'm glad it's somebody who's laughing. Anyway, so let me screen share the which case is this? This is the this is today's. Is this today's case? Yes, this is a case that was released today in about the New York and Connecticut assault weapons ban and the 7-round magazine. Let me hit the screen share button. People.
Just out of curiosity, can you guys hear that?
Hear what?
Good. It was my, we have an external heat pump, and it's like right beside where my bedroom wall is.
Okay, so here, Shit, I'm not gonna go all the way. Is this the one where they actually put the decision at the top? Can you see this in the
Yep.
United States Court of
Yeah,
Appeals
we
for
can
the
see it.
Second Circuit? All right, so the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, Sportsmen's Association for Firearms, New York State Shooting versus Cuomo and all those other liberal morons in New York. So this is the case that was just issued today, the ruling, and Connecticut Citizens Defense League. So uh, basically, this is the assault weapons ban is upheld, but the 7 round that 7 round limit is reversed, and
But that's only a circuit court hearing, right? That's not a Supreme, is it?
that's not the Supreme Court. We'll get to the Supreme Court. Well, I can only do one case at a time. So, but this is today. Well, there was two things today, basically. There was the second, and then there was the Supreme Court basically putting it back for another 2 weeks on a different case, which would obviously have impact because that was an assault weapons ban and the Friedman case. But so just to go over this one quickly before we do the Supreme Court case. Jeez. Also, there was this, I didn't even know about this Remington 7615. It looks like a pump action rifle, 223. So what is all that? Okay, now I'm hearing your heat pump or whatever it is. It sounds like you're smoking a bong or something in the background.
Shut off, so we'll be good.
All right. Let's see. We hold the core provisions of the New York and Connecticut laws prohibiting possession of semi-automatic assault weapons do not violate, and large capacity magazines do not violate the Second Amendment. I'm still hearing somebody smoking a bong or something. But Connecticut's prohibition on the non-semi-automatic Remington 7615 unconstitutionally infringements on the Second Amendment, right? So I looked one up. There's one on Gunbroker. It looks like a pump action rifle. I've never even seen it before. I read this.
I've seen one of those pump action AR-15s where basically in order to shoot, you just have to pump it just like you would a shotgun.
Just for anyone who might not know what this is, it is the rifle that was used in Gotham during the end of last season when
the Remington 7615.
Yeah.
And so it's a pump action 223 556, basically. All right.
Yeah. So if anyone watching this, when Jim Gordon goes to when Jim Gordon goes to do his little raid on the head mobster, he goes in with the pump action rifle, and that is what that rifle is.
Yeah. So basically, the lower district court had reversed before it got to the Second Circuit. They said the Remington was some kind of assault weapon or something. So, but since it's pump action, I guess is not considered semi-auto, then it's not. They said you can have one of those or something. It's not an assault weapon. So that's that on that. So basically, this was other than the 7-round limit being tossed. I mean, yeah, it's kind of dumb to have a 10-round magazine. So you could have a 10-round magazine if you can only put 7 rounds in it. But like I said before, if you live in New York and you want to kill people, just all you have to do is run a red light. You don't need a gun or a knife, And
I'll take unenforceable laws for 25, Alex.
Unenforceable and ridiculous, but this was just released today, so I wanted to bring it up because I guess somebody on Gun Channels has to talk about Second Amendment stuff sometimes, other than on the 2nd of every month when they have Every Second Matters, And so in case you miss that, like, hey, sometimes people's lives get busy and I can't make every second sometimes, but that's a good show to check out on Gun Channels. Every Second Matters. They have a channel and they talk about second. But I'm also like a Gun Channels. I'm a junkie for the Second Amendment stuff. I think everybody knows that on Gun Channels anyway.
Wow, that's why we're all here.
That's why that's why anybody. If I was just talking about Israeli optics and Star Wars, only Quark would be interested. So,
Well, I'm interested in Star Wars too, and I know a lot of Star Wars, so you know.
all right, we'll get back to that later. Let's get all the Second Amendment court cases out. So, this appeal presents two questions. First, whether the Second Amendment permits regulation of assault weapons and large capacity magazines. And second, whether the challenge provision of the statutes provide constitutionally sufficient notice of the conduct proscribed. All right, so let's skip to the end. And basically they're applying intermediate scrutiny. So here, let's see, only two specific provisions: the New York 7-round load limit and Connecticut's prohibition on the non-semi-automatic Remington 7.615 are unconstitutional. Right. So I'll link a picture to one of those after I finish this case, and then we'll go on to the Friedman case in the Supreme Court.
I'll get one up here on screen share if you want.
Oh yeah, okay, screen share. I just have one thing from Gunbroker up to look at later. Yeah, so basically after the McDonald versus City of Chicago, which is the case I described earlier, there's still a lot of vagueness, and each circuit court is ruling differently, and so whether the Supreme Court wants to hear, any appeals, because, either the left or the right can't be certain that they're going to win. The justices, the left-leaning justices and the right-leaning justices, nobody can actually be sure that they're going to win. I'm going to actually, I should really link this thing in the freaking, sorry, I had 2 glasses of wine and 1 beer. But I need to link this in the.
That's it?
Sorry.
And I was expecting you had more.
Here we are. I've got it right here.
All right, so I linked the actual case law, the ruling, into the Hawaii Volcano Squad chat there. On the hey, if you're external, sorry, I've been having some weird Flash issues, so I can't. Thanks for watching, and I'm on. If you want to talk and say something, go into the internal gunchannels.com/HVS, and so there is the law policy and the actual case for the New York Connecticut case, which I just linked, which I am screen sharing right now, and analytic rubric, a rubric cube. Let's just skip that. Let's get to the fun. Go to the money shot at the end, right? So, for lack of a better,
I think you have to pay extra for that.
I met this really cute Filipino chick the other day, but that's for off air. So anyway.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. What was the decision?
So level of scrutiny. Basically that's it. Intermediate. They're applying intermediate scrutiny and not strict scrutiny. And
so they're just applying what they want to apply and not what they should.
Well, there's different levels of scrutiny. There's transactional scrutiny, intermediate scrutiny, and strict scrutiny, and that really seems to be the issue. Basically, this whole thing is,
geez, if only we scrutinized the actions of politicians like this, we'd actually get something done.
Well, no, only the politicians can actually get something done, because I have a feeling that this whole thing is going to be dependent upon what happens in the election or the Benghazi hearing, at least. It really is weird the way this whole thing is.
If they can't get her on Benghazi, they'll get her on those emails. They
will
find
the
something.
FBI chart, but the whole thing is that, is everybody waiting? Is everybody in Washington waiting for this freaking hearing and to find out whether Biden runs? And I don't know. Anyway,
how is she going to be a good head of state when she can't even give good head?
Well, here's the thing: is if Carly Fiorina runs against Hillary Clinton to go on Donald Trump's thing, which person, whose face could you look at for the next 8 years? I mean, I picked Carly, but not by much. Anyway, prohibition on assault weapons.
I'd rather look at a vulture's hind end.
To survive intermediate scrutiny, fit between the challenge regulation and the government interest need only be substantial, not perfect. Unlike strict scrutiny, we need to not ensure that the statute is narrowly tailored, or at least, or the least restrictive available means to serve stated government interest. The stated government interest is to prevent possible future crime, basically. Prevent somebody from doing something in the future, maybe.
Yeah, but what they aren't realizing is they're taking guns and the Second Amendment away. There go of the people and not the actual criminals themselves. So taking it away from law-abiding citizens, just to prevent criminals from getting it, isn't going to prevent them from getting shit.
Well, I know that somewhere here when I was looking through it earlier, they had some like psychological opinion on future crime, by a psychological analysis. It was just I can't believe.
So we're living in the Minority Report right now, then.
Here's a newsflash: all these laws they have in place hasn't made New York any safer.
The dangers proposed by some of these military features prohibited by the statute, such as grenade launchers and silencers. Okay, grenade launchers I could understand, but silencers? Yeah. That just keeps people from not going deaf. I mean, even in Britain, they know that just keeps people so you don't bother your neighbor. You have to shoot a pig that's eating your crops or some pest. It just doesn't bother your neighbor, and that's all.
Or look at
it's much.
Just look at Finland with Mika. He goes in and buys like a box and leaves.
What happened in Finland now?
Mika, he's another Gun Channels guy, but he's going over there in Finland.
Oh, right, I remember him.
He's saying he literally just one time G-Web said that he went into one of their gun stores there, bought like a box of suppressors, and just walked out with it on camera just so we could see.
What was in the box?
Suppressors.
Yeah, I mean, even in these left-wing liberal monarchy ban every gun states, they know that silencers are just so you don't go deaf and you don't bother your neighbors shooting pests. And they don't. It's not like on TV where all you hear is a little pew when you shoot a gun. I mean,
I've only ever seen one good argument. And
the only way you get that pew, even hardly, is if you're running it wet. That's the only way it works like that. But even then, it doesn't sound like it sounds on TV, and people are just overhyping it just so they create fear.
It sounds cool though. That little on TV when you make a TV show and you get a little pew. It's so cool. Why not use that?
I wish it worked that way.
Curiosity. What do you mean by running it wet? Like filling the baffles with water?
That's for off air. That's for off air also. Okay, moving on. If you got what I was saying, then you're really sick, motherfucker. Okay, so moving on. Let's see. Prohibition on large capacity magazines applies to for TRE restrictions.
No, I was laughing that you said it's for off air.
Yeah, but do you know why I said that?
I was just laughing at you.
Okay, through the key provisions of both statutes passed, talk for a minute. I don't want to laugh my ass off on camera.
Thought the key provisions of both statutes passed constitutional muster on this record. Another aspect of New York's SAFE Act does not, the 7-round limit, which makes it unlawful for a person to knowingly possess an ammunition feeding device where such device contains more than 7 rounds of ammunition.
Do you feed your ammunition?
I don't feed my ammunition. I like to starve my ammunition. But that's another discussion.
I have boxes and I lock them up and I never let them out to eat. Okay.
What makes them more bloodthirsty when you want to shoot at a criminal?
If they haven't eaten, they'll really, screw somebody up.
That's only if you're using hollow points.
Or those demon M855 tank armor piercing rounds.
Yeah, just don't use M856 on criminals. That doesn't work well. You can
All
start
right.
fires that way.
Vagueness challenge, legal standards. All right, we need to get to the Supreme Court case soon. I'm trying to go to the end here. Application, capacity of tubular magazines.
I think they mean shotgun mags or
Well,
shotgun
but
tubes.
that is no, that's 765 isn't a tube. 7615 Remington is not a tubular magazine. That's a regular
It
magazine.
just uses a regular mag, yeah.
Yeah, but it's got the pump actions. That must be a weird thing. I've never even seen one of those except on a.
I saw it. I think Iraq veteran 8888 did it. He did a video on one of them.
Finally, Chief Judge Scretany also struck down as impermissibly vague a provision of the New York Safety Act that listed among prohibited military-style features such as muzzle attachments as flash suppressor, muzzle brake, muzzle compensator, or threaded barrel to accommodate a flash suppressor. So if somebody misspelled something, muzzle brake.
Yeah. Apparently, the Safe Act misspelled the term as muzzle brake instead of BREEAK instead of BRAKE.
Broken muzzle. You think they
Wow.
would be in favor of broken muzzles? I mean, if you break your muzzle, then your rifle is now legal.
Kids, only in New York does this sort of thing happen.
Not only if you have a gun, you can't. There's no parking spaces, and all the muzzles are broken.
Oh, it's rough.
The people making gun laws have no idea about firearms.
That's the point. That's why they do it. They don't know a damn thing about.
I really want to see somebody draw a muzzle brake. BREAK.
Give me a moment.
You want a broken muzzle? Okay.
Wait, are we allowed to have broken muzzles now against the law?
I don't know. That might be something for off air as well.
Oh man. Wait, were you gonna link a screen share there from Canada?
I think he's either photoshopping one for you or looking it up.
Yeah, I'm going into just MS Paint.
Oh. Well, we'll wait for that one.
I'm not sure I want to.
All right. Oh yeah, the Geneva Convention. Wait a minute. What page am I on?
Wait, does the Geneva Convention call? I thought that was the Geneva Convention was chemical weapons, and that the Hague Convention was the one about ammunition.
Conclusion. Here's what I've been scrolling through all this shit to get to. To summarize, we hold as follows: the court provisions by New York and Connecticut of the assault weapons and large capacity magazines do not violate the Second Amendment. Fuck you. A. We assume that the majority of prohibited conduct falls within the scope of the Second Amendment protection. The statutes are appropriately evaluated under the constitutional scrutiny of intermediate scrutiny. That is, whether they are substantially related to achievement of an important governmental interest. I assuming pre-crime prevention, less violence, and somehow broken muzzles. B, because the prohibitions are substantially related to the important governmental interest of public safety and crime reduction, that they pass constitutional muster.
Yeah,
Therefore,
I don't believe that at all.
We therefore affirm the relevant portions of the Western District of New York District and of Connecticut, so far as they upheld the constitutionality of state prohibitions against semi-automatic assault weapons and large capacity magazines, which is basically the next case, what we're talking about, that going if the Supreme Court picks it up. We hold that specific prohibition against a non-semi-automatic Remington 7615 falls within the scope of Second Amendment protection, and subsequently fails intermediate scrutiny. Accordingly, we reverse the limited portion of the judgment of the District of Connecticut. In doing so, we emphasize the limited nature of our holding with respect to the Remington 7615. We did link that, right? You did link a picture of that?
Yeah, Tyler
Earlier?
did.
Okay. In that it merely reflects the presumption required by the Supreme Court in Columbia versus Heller. New York's 7-round load limit does not survive intermediate scrutiny, and in the absence of requisite record, evidence, and substantial relationship between the statutory provision and the important state safety interests, we therefore affirm the judgment that insofar as it held this provision unconstitutional. It was also stupid, but, stupid and unconstitutional.
But they're not allowed to say that in court. Because then that would be slander and libel.
Well, it would be grounds for reversal if they said the defendants were stupid to pass this law in the first place.
And the judge would reply, whether they're stupid or not is not the question.
No, but if the judge says it's stupid, then they demand a
retrial,
a mistrial.
Yeah, or mistrial, right?
Something about tubular magazines as copies or duplicates. I don't even get that. Readily restored, we reverse the judgment of the Western District Court insofar as it found the language pertaining to the versions and muzzle brakes to be unconstitutionally vague. Muzzle brakes, B-R-E-A-K-S. It's not that they didn't misspell it, it's just they didn't know what they were talking about. I mean, does anybody get that they didn't misspell it? They just didn't know what they were talking about in the first place? Anyway. Okay, next case.
Yeah, you'd think they want muzzle brakes because it makes it less noisy, easier to use the rifle, or do they not want people to be able to use rifles? I don't know.
In their defense, when you Google muzzle brake with the actual spelling that they have, it does come up as an actual muzzle brake, so maybe we can give them some leeway.
They were looking it up on Google. That's all we have to say.
They Googled it?
They Googled it.
All right. Let me. I have the Friedman case up on here somewhere. Right here it is, and this one's a little simpler. Oh, another 228-page decision, but on this one they put the questions at the front. So.
Oh my God! The government's actually making sense. I don't believe this.
Stop presenting on this one and start presenting.
Speaking of government, it's official.
It's official. Canada's fucked by liberals for the next few years.
Liberal majority.
Liberal majority. God save Canada.
I don't think there's any hope.
All right, so this next case, this is the one before the Supreme Court on an appeal. They haven't picked it up yet. October 30th. It's now on a third. What do they call it when they say? Let me link this into the chat real quick. All right, so this is the SCOTUS blog of the brief for the certiorari appeal of Friedman versus Friedman versus Heidman. Shit, let me get the case in front of me. Sorry. Right. Friedman versus Ari S. Friedman and the Illinois State Rifle Association versus the City of Highland Park. Writ of certiorari, which basically they're saying, appeal this. 1. Whether the Constitution allows the government to prohibit law-abiding, responsible citizens from protecting themselves, their families, and their homes with a class of constitutionally protected arms that includes the most popular rifles in the nation. 2, whether the Constitution allows government to prohibit law-abiding, responsible citizens from protecting themselves, their families, and their homes with ammunition magazines that number in the tens of millions and make up nearly half of the nation's total stock of privately owned ammunition magazines for handguns and rifles. So this is a straight assault weapons ban and high capacity for the Supreme Court. So the question is, will they pick this up before there's an election and the politicians decide this, or before they appoint, either the liberals win and appoint 2 more liberal judges, or the conservatives win the presidency and appoint 2 more conservative justices, or will they try and do this now? It's on its 3rd, basically relisting. It's called relisting. So this October 30th, this was just relisted today. So this also happened just today. And it's relisted for October 30th now, the day before Halloween. So I'm not going to scroll through 228 pages. Questions? Let's go to the end, because we already have heard all these arguments before in a million other cases. Conclusion, page 38. Yeah. Page 38. Let's go to page 38.
Keep scrolling.
Scrolling. Get them doggies scrolling. Right. So, page 38.
So this is the gun channel's version of Rawhide?
Well, yeah, 2 glasses of wine and 1 beer, and you got a singing drunk Second Amendment person. Sorry. How come it says page 28 when it's only showing page 38? Oh.
You have to keep going.
Yeah.
Almost there.
Because this is the conclusion of the argument. This isn't the conclusion of the court.
Hey.
For these reasons... All right, sorry for that. For the reasons set forth above, a writ should issue and the court should reverse the judgment below. All right, so... all right, well, let's go back up and see if there's anything important real quick in these first 38 pages. Basically, this thing is being relisted. I mean, the news flash is that the Supreme Court once again did nothing, and, basically this is Heller McDonald, give us our... What's happening here is that all the ancillary issues that were left undecided or untouched in Heller and McDonald are coming up in these cases, and so if they pick up review is needed because the Seventh Circuit's decision cannot be reconciled with Heller. So basically, all these ancillary issues of assault weapons bans and high capacity mags and in Peru carry permits and open carry, concealed carry, any carry. All this stuff is stuff that was not touched in Heller. And so, does the Supreme Court want to hear any of this stuff? Here's the review is needed because the Seventh Circuit's decision cannot be reconciled with Heller. So basically, I think if either side thinks they can win, actually, then they'll hear the arguments, and if they don't, then this will get put off until after the election. But it's really reading tea leaves to try and figure out. Petitioners are Friedman and the Illinois State Rifle Association. So basically, nothing this is like a political exercise. We're really waiting to find out who wins the election. Is Clinton going to run? Is Biden going to run? Are the Republicans going to win? In 2013, the city of Highland Park, Illinois, categorically barred its residents from possessing some of the most widely owned firearms in the nation. Ordinance 6813 to prohibit the sale, purchase, and possession of certain semi-automatic firearms, centrally including those semi-automatic rifles that accept magazines containing more than 10 rounds of ammo and possess one or more of the 5 enumerated features. Only a pistol grip without a stock attached, any feature capable of functioning as a protruding grip that can be held by the non-trigger hand, a folding telescoping or thumbhole stock, a shroud attached to the barrel that partially or completely encircles the barrel, allowing the bearer to hold the firearm with a non-trigger hand without being burned. But I guess they want people to burn their hands. But excluding a slide that encloses the barrel or a muzzle brake. They spelled muzzle brake correctly.
Well, that just tells you that there's a higher caliber of lawyers in Illinois as opposed to New York.
So basically, they want to ban all rifles because doesn't that basically say that all, like, would like a wood stock fit the barrel shroud criteria?
I'm not going to even try and figure out.
Because that's all rifles then.
The city calls the disparate collection of they misspell, I mispronounce. Disparate collection of semi-automatic firearms that it has banned assault weapons. This is an imaginary pejorative category. Prior to 1989, the term assault weapon did not exist. It's a political term developed by anti-gun publicists
from the 60s.
The Violence Policy Center. I did a show mentioning the Violence Policy Center. That guy's a freak, man. Anyway, Josh Sugarman. Yeah, he's the anti-violence, the Violence Policy Center. That guy has some really crazy. I linked one of it. I don't have to go back and find the thing on him.
Would that be the guy that was talking about, like, we need to influence the public opinion about firearms and make them scared guy?
I'd have to go back and listen to my own chat to remember it was 3 months ago or 4 months ago that I did something on the violence. It's Josh Sugarman and the violence policy. He basically gets a grant every year from the Brady campaign, and he spends $1 million or $2 to create some report, you know. That gets cited in it must have been the Peruta case, now that I recall. They keep citing his studies, you know, in like Peruta, you know, they have the standard, the Brady case files an amicus brief, and it just they throw the standard legal crap into the briefs. And, you know, so I actually read the Brady brief, you know, because like I said, I'm a junkie on this stuff, and it was just so stupid. And I mean, and then they had a link to this Josh Sugarman report, and I just couldn't believe the stupid stuff was in it. So if you want to see it, go back to my one of my Peruta amicus briefs, you know, broadcasts. I mean, I think I did one when they filed the amicus brief, and when the thing was before the 11-judge panel heard it, there was things look good, and now the Peruta case may just be they may wait to find out if this case here gets heard by the Supreme Court, the Friedman case. So, bottom line is everything is waiting for the Friedman case, and what is the Supreme Court justice is waiting for? An election, whether Hillary, you know, how Hillary does at the Benghazi hearings on Thursday, and whether Joe Biden runs, and if, you know, the next stupid thing Donald Trump says. So, does anybody in the chat have any questions, or can we go back to talking about Star Wars or my Crimson Trace laser on my Ruger LC9. You guys talked me into getting that laser on Gun Channel, so it's your fault if I hit anything that I aim at with that
No,
gun.
I don't think anyone's listening. Or
Oh,
not that they're not listening, that they don't have any questions.
well, let me go look at the chat. I've been.
Yeah, I've already checked YouTube.
No, I meant. You're looking at the externals on YouTube.
I'm looking at YouTube and I'm looking at gun channels, and
It's dead.
it's not
Yeah.
dead. It's just quiet.
It's quiet.
Okay, because
They're all
gun
watching
channels is always on.
probably Yankee is in the lobby stealing.
As much as we hate on Yankee, we just by even saying his name, we get more people, to go and look him up.
Oh. All right. Well, whatever. Anyway, moving on. Oh, well, do you have any questions, G-Webs? Or we talk about Star Wars? Hey, what's happened to Quark? First of all, I saw him on today. You guys got him a new computer or something, or because he had he had some health issues and his computer died and he had to spend all of his money on something other than Gun Channel's chats. But I hope he comes back. Anyway, I hope he gets better. But anyway, oh, he's back. All right. Well, Quarker's back. So it was interesting in hearing what his opinion was on the Star Wars commercial. But anyway, it was how long was that thing that was on? That was like a 90-second commercial or a 2-minute commercial or something.
Like a minute or so, maybe 2 minutes.
It was an expensive one. You could see from all the CGI of all the.
Oh, it was all CGI.
Well, I mean, Harrison Ford wasn't CGI. Well, maybe they fixed him up a little.
They fixed him up a little because we don't know if that scene was shot before or after
he-
his airplane crash. Though, did you see how he crashed that airplane? I mean, it takes some major skill to crash it and not have it turn into a million pieces when you crash it.
The G-Webs wants a link to the commercial. I don't know. Is there a link on the internet to the commercial yet? It was the Monday Night Football halftime show was when it was on. So, like before I started, we were all looking at the commercial. So, anyway, if you could find a link, put it in the Hawaii Volcano Squad chat.
Oh, I have one here. Hang on, let me just go get it again.
Yeah, throw it in the gunchannels.com/HVS chat there for G-Webs. It was pretty cool. But so you think there's going to be an ammo ban, panic, and gun thing in Canada now? Because
If it's not already happening, it will be.
well, how can it be happening? Isn't it like aren't all the stores closed now, or are the gun shops staying open late for the elections?
You know what? It wouldn't surprise me. You know what? I'm just gonna post it in the side chat here because I don't have gun channels open right now, so you can repost it.
Okay.
Okay. Knight, you want to do that?
It's not a good copy. It's a pretty.
It's a
just,
bad copy. Oh,
just a cam.
It's a camera of the camera. How come?
It's a cam. I'm not gonna post that. It looks like crap.
Okay.
We do a disservice to gun channels by posting something like that.
All right. Well, you'll be able to find it tomorrow, I'm sure. Or just Google it. They paid for that commercial, so I'm sure they'll have it up. So. Anyway, yeah, I mean, so the president is liberal and the entire parliament is going to be all liberal now?
No. Okay, let me just find the exact numbers. So, there are 255 out of the 388 seats declared. 149 of them are going to the Liberal Party. 81 of them are going to the Conservatives. 17 to the Democrats, 1 to the Bloc Québécois, and 1 to the Green Party. So the Liberals have a majority, I'm pretty sure. So essentially, the way that works is they have the majority of Canada's votes, so they don't have to. I'm pretty sure if they don't have to go to the other parties to make decisions. Like if they have a minority, the whole House of Commons, like the Senate, has to vote. But when they have a majority, they just kind of vote within the Liberal Party.
They don't have filibusters and stuff like that.
Yes, that sounds about correct.
Correct that you don't have filibusters?
No, I don't think that happens in a majority government, though it does happen in a minority government. Although someone will definitely correct me.
Well, not here, but okay. Unless Bob gets on. Where has Bob been hiding, man? I mean, just the day when we need him. He's
Yeah.
I've seen him off and on gun channels as of late, but very sporadically.
Yeah, I don't know. What's up with the
Bobster?
With the Bobster there. But anyway.
So yeah, sort of think of it like we have like 300 and something senators, and each seat is like a senator for that party goes to the House of Parliament, goes to the Canadian Senate, essentially.
All right. Well, let's see. So before we close this one out, we got New York, we got the Star Wars thing. Unless you want to talk about Star Wars for a while, I mean, we got the I didn't see too many blasters in the Star Wars show. I just saw the,
Well, I just kind of want to make a prediction. I want to make a prediction.
Okay, go for it.
You know, in the scene where it says, "I'm gonna finish what you started," and it shows Darth Vader's mask.
Right.
Yes.
Luke's gone dark side.
Again?
Luke.
Yep.
No, wait. They retconned all the comics and books and whatnot, so I guess.
Yeah, the extended universe is gone. I am guessing that is Luke going dark side.
No, because remember they had this guy Neil and touch one of the droids, and he had a robotic hand. That was Luke.
I don't know, man. That's my guess.
Well, spoilers if you didn't see the commercial, but it's just a commercial.
Wait, how can you spoil a 60-second commercial? I think it was 90 seconds, but...
90 seconds then. Someone can spoil anything, I guess.
All right, so anyway, before Halloween, we'll get a big pumpkin surprise from the Supreme Court, one way or the other. If they pick it up, then you can go dressed as your... What about ZombieCon, man? I mean, what did they put out like on the wanted poster? They just put a wanted poster of a zombie or something?
I don't know, but apparently one person was killed and the 5 people are wounded.
Wait, what? I haven't heard about this.
Yeah. Someone shot up ZombieCon.
At Fort Lauderdale, right? In Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So, and the police had problems because obviously everybody had fake blood and was dressed as a zombie.
Yeah, it was really hard to find the actual injured people as opposed to the zombies.
Too. Everybody had fake weapons and guns and blood all over them,
I mean, not to sound psychopathic, but that's kind of the ultimate place to do it.
Don't get me in trouble on my
psychopathic from
channel.
A Canadian point of view, okay? Just throwing that out there.
Do they have nobody? It's too cold to have ZombieCon in Canada, isn't it?
What is this in Fahrenheit?
I mean, I'm just trying to picture this wanted poster, of a zombie on it or something.
It was about 33 degrees today.
33 degrees?
It was 63 here.
Oh, God. Well, Hawaii is considerably warmer than you
Well,
people.
obviously you're out in the middle of the Pacific.
Yes, I am.
Does it ever get cold there?
But yeah, it was like
Well,
it
on the
was
top of the mountain, yeah, on the top of Mauna Kea, Mauna Loa
Okay,
summit,
okay.
yeah.
In
When the
town, does it
telescope's
ever
up.
get
No.
cold?
Well, no.
So you just have one season, summer, all year round.
Yes.
I hate
Well, no,
Hawaii.
but we have hurricane season though, and it gets really humid. And this is like the most active hurricane season we've ever had. Wait a minute, we forgot to discuss shark attacks. We've had 2 shark attacks on the same day, like last week. Yeah, one guy lost part of a leg, I think, and
Oh no, that leg.
tiger sharks. But yeah, it's been like humid as hell. This is we have the most tropical storms and hurricanes, but mostly they're near misses, and it's like we're being, we were like last time we're surrounded by 3 different storms and hurricanes. They didn't touch landfall, but they just pushed all this moisture onto the island, and it rained a ton. We had flash flood warnings every day, and the humidity was like 98% for 2 months straight.
Okay, don't even get me started. I'm near the Charleston area. Okay, we just had the whole flooding issue not too long ago, and I got damage. So, meh.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you see the 5 freeway. I used to live on PCH, and after the Malibu fire, I was the flash flood came one night, and it was like 3-4 feet of mud all the way across Pacific Coast Highway, and the cars were like floating upside down and on the highway, but it was mud. I didn't even.
Floating upside down. Was somebody driving the wrong way?
No, I mean the mud just picks up the car. The house next door was washed washed out to sea. I mean, yeah, it is just anyway.
Well, that's one way to get a car moving in California.
Well, the whole house was washed. Yeah, my friends, basically I used to live in a duplex, and the guy had a Lamborghini who had the top floor of the duplex, and they had mud over the engine cowling, so it was a total loss. And my Mustang GT it didn't make it over the engine cowling. It was parked in a garage. It kind of caved in the garage, but most of the mud went around the place because the garage door was kind of closed. But and went washed the house next door out to sea. But anyway, anyways, yeah.
So your GT was saved.
Well, yeah. Well, it was totaled because the insurance value was less. The value of the car was less than, I mean, but yeah, they saved it. But the Lamborghini was totaled because it has
Well,
a lower engine base, so than the GT.
no real loss there. It wasn't yours.
It wasn't mine, right?
That's all that matters, right?
Well, I remember the Ford dealer laughing at my GT when they brought it in on a tow truck bed with all the mud hanging out of every way.
Why were they laughing?
Because they usually don't get cars in that have been buried in mud. So.
They did know it was from the flooding, and not you weren't going mudding in like a GT.
But the Ford dealer was in the valley, okay, and there's no Ford dealer in Malibu, so they towed it up to Pankakane to the Ford dealer in Canoga Park or Woodland Hills or whatever it was, and so they just it was on a flatbed tow truck or whatever, and there was just like mud hanging out from the engine and shit. So. Chunks of stuff. Anyway, but ancient history. So, anyway, I think we did cover the Second Amendment stuff pretty well that's current, and the Star Wars and the Canadian election. If you move to Canada, bury your guns, and buy ammo now and buy guns now before
it's too late.
Before it's too late. So the ammo panic starts now, and the gun panic starts now in Canada. And so or move to Texas, if you want. But
I would say move to Arizona because Arizona's already has open carry.
wait, isn't Bob moving to Arizona. Well, he's just vacationing. He wants to visit Arizona, I think.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, do we want to? Is there anybody out there to do a patch giveaway to left in the lobby, or should we do one? Or if anybody wants us to do a patch giveaway, you have 30 seconds before we shut this thing down to say so in the Hawaii Volcano Squad gun chat page there. So.
Uh,
So what's this you're thinking about doing a new show, Night Strike, right?
yes, I'm calling it hit or miss. I've already asked you to be on it, and when you have time, of course.
And well, I don't. Yeah, you have to pick a day too. So
Well, I need some help to figure out what schedule would be best, so I don't conflict with other people's shows, you know. So I'm taking, I guess, a poll on that. So.
all right. Well, yes.
So
And,
respond to my emails, damn it.
What? Just me? I'm not the only person.
I'm waiting a response from everyone that I sent an email to, and I haven't gotten one single email in reply.
Well, I was thinking about it, like what is going to be the topic of your shows, but we'll talk about that off air. But if anybody has any ideas or wants to help Night Strike, send them some on Gun Channel. Send them some.
Send me ideas. You know,
ideas.
if there's a time slot you want me to use, just send it to me. I've got an email address. It's nightstrike@gmail.com. And yes, it's spelled NIGHTSTRYKE@gmail.com. It's not hard.
Okay. Hey, Tyler. So you're new to Gun Channels, right?
Moderately.
Moderately. All right.
He's already been read the questions.
He's already been read the questions. All right. All right, so we're going to shut this one down. This is Hawaii Volcano Squad, broadcasting from the Pineapple Pentagon, covering all your Second Amendment issues, questions, Star Wars, and what else did we talk about?
Politics.
Politics, Canadian politics. Was this the first time we covered Canadian politics? But anyway, oh yeah, so that's what kind of 1911 is that?
It's an ATI, American Tactical Imports, 1911 military. So it's a full size. It's made by the same company that makes them for Rock Island as well.
Oh, in the Philippines.
Yeah, Philippines.
Cool. We're usually on Mondays. As long as my air conditioning is working,
Yeah.
My air conditioning was out, and it was like 100 degrees in my apartment, so there wasn't any chat last week. So that's just the way that goes. But now that I got a brand new AC kicking out 25,000 BTUs of cold air, I'm good. So this has been 220 volts, so it doesn't use too much electricity either. So this is the Hawaii Volcano Squad. Tune in next week on Mondays, and y'all be cool. See you next time.